Welcome back to the fourth quarter. Today we're going to talk about how analytics has changed the MLB, NFL, and NBA, how these games are extremely different than they were 10 to 15 years ago, and how this affects the future of these leagues. The first one we're going to look at, which I believe is the furthest along in its analytical revolution, and that is the MLB. The MLB has completely changed with the advancement of analytics. To begin, you look at how managers have changed their game plans. Of course, as of recently, the shift has been banned, so an aspect of analytics that did change the game did get changed with the rule change, which I think is a good thing from Rob Manfred. But you also look at intentional walks. Intentionally walking great players has always been a factor. I mean, look at Barry Bonds' whole career when he was absolutely dominant. He was getting intentionally walked with the bases loaded, which is just absolutely insane. But now you guys like Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, who would get intentionally walked a ton and still do, but teams look to put elite hitters behind them, so the run production, you cannot walk them nearly as much. I mean, look at those two hitters specifically is why I mentioned them. Juan Soto you can't really walk him when he has Aaron Judge behind him. I mean, just pairing elite hitters together like that. I mean, you get Shohei Ohtani backed up by Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Lindor backed up by Juan Soto. I mean, you see these teams, right? It's the top of the lineup so important. You don't want your top hitters getting walked. You want pitchers to have to be forced to throw into them, and I think that's something that lineups have changed because of analytics and how these teams set their lineups. I think managers, it's a huge thing here, right? And also to look at these things, lineups, right, as a whole, right? Traditionally, your best hitter bats third, a speedy contact guy first, and possibly second as well, speedy contact guys. Maybe a little bit more power to your second, and a big cleanup hitter fourth. That's traditional roles of baseball. But while elements of this still exist, you have guys like Kyle Schwarber batting leadoff, right? Francisco Lindor, top hitters of the teams batting leadoff, and teams in general have their best hitters going first and second, effectively maximizing the amount of at-bats they will see throughout a season, right? Looking over to pitchers now, we see less innings, higher spin rate, higher velo. Pitchers just a complete overall of how the position is, right? You don't really see complete games anymore. Yoshinobu Yamamoto had a few in the playoffs, and that was a far cry from anything that we've seen in recent years, and really, it was really cool, right? I mean, Yoshinobu Yamamoto pitching complete games in the World Series was just absolutely incredible, but that's really a rarity rather than the exception, right? It was a great homage back to the old days where complete games were regular. Guys' emphasis on velocity and spin rate has led to a huge uptick in pitcher injuries, as the human body, quite frankly, is peaking on how well we could throw a baseball for a long period of time. I mean, to look at the statistics of it, right? I mean, fastballs. In 2002, the average velocity of a fastball was 89. Now it's 94, right? For the slider, 80 to 84. Cutter, 86 to 89. Curveball, 75 to 80. Changeup, 79 to 85. And then overall, it's a 5.98% change in velocity and how fast pitchers are throwing balls. It's a huge difference in just a short 20 years. For the hitting side of it, we see an emphasis on many new things, such as launch angle, right? People looking at exit velocity, launch angle, different metrics than they did before. Home run or strikeout hitters, exit velocity and velo have really taken over things like batting average, right? OPS has become the main stat that you look at. You see guys like Ellie De La Cruz who are swinging much harder, putting less emphasis on contact, and that shows a large trend in the direction baseball is going. The best hitters, right, like Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, Ohtani, Kyle Tucker, among a few others, still do mix everything, right? They mix power, contact, not striking out a ton, but overall the league has shifted more towards home run or strikeout approach, and a lot of the top superstars are still going to be doing everything, right? Everything hitting wise. But I think when you go below that, I think that's where you see the biggest change in how hitters are, right? Baseball has changed a lot from these analytical changes. But the one thing that baseball has over the other sports in terms of not changing because of analytics is that it does not have a clock. And that'll bring me right into the next sport we're going to look at, and that is the NBA. The NBA's analytical revolution has been revolved really around two things. One, three-pointers, and the previously mentioned clock. A lot of this can be attested to Steph Curry showing the entire league how much better it is to have high-volume three-point shooters like him, as well as Klay Thompson on his team. But since his arrival to the league, and not just a rival, but arrivals, and when he started winning MVPs, breaking records left and right, that's really what I imply by the arrival of Steph Curry. Basketball has completely changed, and it doesn't seem like the league is looking back. In the 2001-2002 season, teams averaged just under 15 three-point attempts per game, and in 2021-22, teams are attempting over 35 three-pointers a game. The floor spacing and just more points per trip down the floor has completely overhauled the league. You have big men shooting threes at a high volume. Guys like Karl Anthony Towns, Victor Wembanyama even shoots high volume, and now something you would have never seen just a few years ago. Now to look on the other end, late game clock management, which many people are not fans of, teams fouling constantly at the end of the games to make it longer, dragged out, and no longer huge shots at the end, right? Because teams are fouling up three on purpose to send them to the line instead of giving them a shot at the end of games. As much as it's a smart thing to do, it's dragged out the end of basketball games, and I think it's worse for the product. I would look for Adam Silver to make a similar move to the MLB. when they ban the shift to limit this in late games. I don't know exactly what it would be, but maybe possibly eventually awarding 3 free throws if you get to a certain number of fouls because it's intentionally fouling at the end of the games. I mean, just yesterday, as the time of the recording, was that NBA Cup game. It was an incredible game, but at the end slowed down because when you're up 3, it's just statistically better to foul. You cannot blame coaches for doing that, of course, but definitely makes the product worse. I mean, they talk about how the last 2 minutes of a close NBA game are really long. It's around 15 minutes for a 2 minutes of gameplay, and that's just something that, doesn't really benefit the sport. I'm sure it benefits the commercial breaks and all that, but in terms of just enjoying the sport, I think that's something that a lot of people would like to see changed. And I mean, Adam Silver definitely is not afraid to make changes, and possibly making rules to combat this, talking about it at the next CBA meetings might be something that they do. And that'll pick us to our last sport, which is the NFL. And for the NFL, all right, we've seen the impact of analytics already, right? And I think it's probably the least of the 3 that's been changed, right? It's mostly affecting the clock as well as decisions to go for it on 3rd and 4th down. You see teams doing a lot more to drag out plays, run the clock, keep the other team's defense on the field. Teams have realized statistically how important it is to keep other teams' defenses on the field for long periods of time, right? You see teams treat 3rd down plays as if they're 2nd down plays now because they know they're going to be going for it on 4th down depending on what territory of the field they're in. A difference in play calling, right? There's different times where they're going to be going for it on a natural 4th down situation compared to the past. It's like that one Young Sheldon clip. I don't know if you saw. It's like where he's like statistically punting on 4th down. You've probably seen it. But anyways, you're going to see teams go for it more often as they realize that teams statistically have been much too conservative and going for it on 4th down, which is something you see from a lot of teams like the Lions, which has been really found out to be statistically a better choice. That's going to be the major thing, just keeping defenses on the field, going for it more often on 4th downs. I think football still has a ways to go in terms of analytics. I think it's more towards individual player performances and what they've done, but in terms of how the game is played out, I don't think we've seen too much of a difference. We've seen a difference in the run game, right? We see quarterbacks who run are just more valuable to a team. They make the defense think more. You think guys who could really scramble out of pressure, guys like Caleb Williams, Patrick Mahomes, who really just have a sixth sense for escaping the pocket, has been incredible for teams like that who are starting to, light up the league. I think that's another change we've seen. I think that's just in terms of how much better athletes quarterbacks have become. But I think overall the NFL has probably seen the least analytical change. But thank you guys for watching this episode of the 4th Quarter, where we cover the NBA, MLB, and NFL. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy, and let us know in the comments what you think these leagues will look like in 5 years with the further advancement of analytics.